Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are. I stole that from Dave on Anfield Index, so sorry, Dave. If you're watching, don't know why you would be, but welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to Beyond The Kop, and today we are talking Liverpool, Burnley. It's a match which, for all that people say that it shouldn't be as big of a competition, it is. Burnley have given Liverpool some major headaches in the Premier League. Beat us at Anfield not too long ago, caused us that horrific draw, which started the whole David Klopp drama situation, which we're not going to get too much into. But I thought there's no one better that we could be talking to about Burnley Football Club, their return, their triumphant return to the Premier League after their time in the Championship wilderness, Jacob Horsfall. If you haven't seen Jacob's channel, and I realized that I spelled his name wrong on the live stream, my mistake, and I'll change that. But if you haven't seen his channel, he recently reached 10,000 subscribers. One of the best tactical analysts on YouTube you're going to see. He's given James Allcott a run for his money, so make sure you give him a subscribe. And yeah, I mean, thank you for coming on, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, mate. I'm doing good. I'm looking forward to get beat on Sunday.
No, don't be so. You know what? We did that Zach Jalab video recently, and you were so like, not pessimistic, but I think you were very honest in like your opinion of Burnley. Are you actually in the strong belief that you can lose on Sunday, or you don't see any sort of major surprise happening?
Like I said, I mean, when we did that video, this was well before, like, Burnley had a poor start the window. I think this might have even been before, like, we saw James Trafford, or maybe just around that time. So all of our really good business, like Ogachukwu, Florentino Luis, kind of came after that video. So I'm a little bit more optimistic since then. But yeah, I'm not banking on Burnley causing any upsets.
I mean, it's happened before. It has happened before. In fact, I mean, like I said, there's been, if I can get the results up here really quick, like Burnley feel like one of those teams that Liverpool either have to smash or we have to pull it out the bag massively. Of course, there was that Ragnar Klavan goal from a few years ago. Like I said, the 1-1 draw not too long ago where Andrew Robertson scored, and then you actually beat us a few years ago as well.
We ended
the which, right?
We ended the three and a half year Anfield streak where he's hadn't lost a game. Ashley Barnes penalty.
You did, and that was a sad day. And this is what I mean, like, of all the sides that we can play in the Premier League, there's so many teams that we expect to lose those matches too. But Burnley are one of those teams that they can turn up and you can sort of cause teams headaches. Maybe you don't pick up as many wins as you'd like, but you are a team that can cause nightmares, and we saw that against Manchester United. And I'm curious to see this season because you've stepped up to the Premier League. You've made a massive change. And last season, you've gone from the side that had the fourth highest amount of possession in the Championship to this first three matches. You're now the team with the second lowest amount of possession in the Premier League. So what's been the major sort of big impact changes that you've seen in the side from this season to last season? What is the biggest difference, not just the possession, but in terms of the way that you've played so far this season?
All honesty, nothing's changed all that much. I mean, a lot of people said, you know, as you said there, we did have a lot of possession last season, but possession wasn't at the forefront of the way in which we played. Our best football actually came in transition when we hit teams on the break. I think the five at the back that we've seen kind of slowly being integrated this season and was integrated in pre-season is something that got us through all the big games last season, especially even against some of the lower clubs if we were hanging on to a 1-0 win away from home. I mean, obviously, Liverpool, you know what that's like. If you go to a tough ground, for example, for us last season, it might have been, I think we got beat by Millwall at the Den, but for example, a team like Millwall, it's a hard place to go. And you end up having to change things a little bit in the last 20 minutes to hang on. And we did end up going to a five at the back against Sunderland, Sheffield United and Leeds. We played with a five at the back with one of the wingers tucking in. And this season, it's more of a rigid five at the back. Maybe we're playing three centre-halves and an actual wing-back, which is probably what we'll see on Sunday. And we saw against Tottenham. So overall, for me, there's not been any insane changes. Maybe more so actually in how we're creating chances and the quality of chances we're creating. Because I said in a video on my channel not too long ago that, funnily enough, last season, Burnley, I mean, we broke the English Football League records for being so good at the back. But this season, I've actually been the least impressed with Burnley defensively and the most impressed with Burnley going forward out of the promoted clubs. Whereas last season, it was entirely flipped. And you thought, you know, Burnley really good defensively, but awful going forward.
Yeah. I mean, it does show because I think this season, for all that you've been, there's a lot of people saying that the attacking threat at points maybe has been limited, but you actually rank quite highly in terms of the amount of shots on goal percentage that you've got. Burnley are actually fairly decent. And I think this stems down to when a lot of people think of Burnley, they still think of that rigid 4-4-2 with like Jack Cork in midfield and Gudmundsson and stuff like that. Like Burnley have progressed, and Vincent Kompany was a big part of that. And I want to touch on one player in particular from this season who's been really influential, and it's Jayden Anthony. Now, as a player this season, he feels like he's sort of stepped into his own. He's got 2 goals, 1 assist. He's created 5 shot creating actions, 2 goal creating actions. And I think against Manchester United, and particularly against Sunderland, like he's shown really big moments where he's just so direct. He ranks so highly in terms of the actual overall progressive play. In the past 365 days, he's in the top 10% for all wingers across Europe's top 5 leagues for progressive carries. Is he someone who feels like he's been sort of spearheading Burnley's attack this season? And is he someone who, particularly down our right-hand side, our right-back position, where we're very sort of makeshift, he can cause major issues for Liverpool this Sunday?
No, I wouldn't say so. I think Anthony's been all right. I don't think he's been amazing by any means. I think he suits what Parker wants in terms of he is that, as we saw again last season, I mentioned before, that 5 at the back, he can be that kind of utility winger. He'll contribute going forward. He can be that runner and running behind and stretch defences. And also he's very solid in terms of a winger at covering back and making into a back 5 potentially. So I think in terms of actual performances, he's obviously done well to get, that goal and that assist. He did well in that kind of transition game against, not goal and assist, sorry, the two goals he's had now in that game against Sunderland, and then the goal, obviously, against Manchester United. But he is still limited in his game. I mean, that mistake against United was abysmal to pull Amad Diallo down. But I think he's been good. He's been decent. I think he's done better than maybe what a lot of people probably expected. I'd say Lyle Foster has been the guy who's stepped up the most. But we've seen him do it in the Premier League before. The last time he was here, obviously, he had those issues with his mental health and a few injury issues. But he gets it. There was a Burnley documentary, and he said, when we got, I think this is probably one of our worst runs under Kompany. I remember seeing him in the dressing room saying like the players don't know what it means to play for Burnley and all that stuff. And I think if you can keep Lyle Foster fully fit, he's a game changer, and he's the one who could cause the issues for Liverpool, especially in them counter-attacking moments. There is space for him to get out wide, which is where he wants to be. He likes to drift wide. He likes to run the channels. And I know it's Manchester United, but physically he bullied Matthijs de Ligt. And as much as United aren't great, not many strikers, even in world football, can go toe-to-toe physically with Matthijs de Ligt and bully him and make him to push him off the ball. Like he's not even there. And that's what Lyle Foster did consistently in that game. So I'd say Lyle, for me, in terms of an attacking sense, has been the guy who is making it happen, I say.
Yeah, I mean, I've got his heat map up here against Sunderland, and he was substituted off against Sunderland in the 86th minute, but he particularly likes to drift out to that left-hand side from what I've noticed. And this is what, like, referring back to sort of, because we've had Szoboszlai at right back, we've got a not fit Jeremy Frimpong, a Connor Bradley, who's not played a single minute for us really this season. He's been injured the majority of the time. Is that the key area to exploit? Is that left-hand side for Liverpool, or is there a different part of the team which you're maybe looking at and thinking, open on transitions, maybe aerially, maybe you can dominate us a bit? What's the big thing that you think could get Burnley a result against us this Sunday?
Yeah, that's where we've played all our football, really, is down that left-hand side, because you've got Quilladinci Hartman, who has a great delivery into the box. He's direct, he's fast, got that recovery pace. He gets down the wing. And a lot of the stuff that's kind of been made of us really this season is, I think, the way in which we create chances. We bait presses out through the midfield, which is probably quite a lot different to what you've kind of seen from Burnley in the past. It's risky in that kind of central area, but we pull teams in, play them short passes, which obviously, especially with someone like Dominic Szoboszlai, who may drift slightly more central, opens up that space for Jayden Anthony to get in behind. Sunderland were caught out on it a couple of times, and obviously one of them led to the goal in that transition. So I think that's probably going to be the goal, is kind of probably looking to overload Szoboszlai whenever we can, with Lyle coming across, Jayden Anthony pulling him about, Hartman trying to get around him. But them moments are probably going to be few and far between. So I think the real way Burnley they're going to try to get something is squeeze the way to half time at 0-0, and then that's when you kind of look, okay, we've got a bit of a chance here, we can try and do something, and then you kind of just relying on someone stepping up, maybe like Lyle did against Manchester United, and he did it for the second time as well when he shouldn't have had that goal disallowed. And he's
he really shouldn't.
No.
I mean, like, the pressing for that Sunderland goal, the first goal I think it was you scored, was really incredible. Like immediately, as soon as they saw that the defender wasn't comfortable with the ball, he's pressing him, he's straight on him. Is Burnley, would you consider yourselves a pressing team in a sort of attacking sense, like in the final third, or are you very much sort of, will stand off, wait until the moment presents itself?
I think it's very much so like not a subjective thing, a situational thing. We are not the world's most aggressive side in terms of pressing. It's very much so, you sit in your mid block, you pick your moments to press. And I think Lyle and Hannibal and Jane Anthony and Loom Schwan, if he's playing, Ugachukwu and Cullen as well, they've got a good sense of picking those moments. And we've seen it already. Manchester United felt a bit of that. Sunderland felt a lot of that. In terms of, we know when we can counter press, and if we can counter press, we will do. But a lot of the time as well, it will be how quick can we get back? Can we recover? And again, Sunderland, a team who are brilliant on transition, never got a chance to hit Burnley in transition because of the way in which Burnley would be able to get back, which is something that's kind of stemmed through last season as well. Obviously, there was that big clip that went round. I remember when we played QPR and Dembele was one-on-one with a defender, and within 0.5 seconds, there's 7 Burnley players back. And I mean, I suppose that's all you can ask for in it. That effort is all you can ask for, especially as a side in our position.
Yeah, I think Scott Park has been a big part of that. We saw what he did for Bournemouth when they got promoted, like the work rate that they put in. And we saw it last season with you. And what really impressed me about Burnley, I said before that this isn't the Burnley side, that the rigid Sean Dyche side, or, Scott Parker seems to have imposed his own certain identity into this team. And what's even more impressive with it is considering the fact that you've lost the likes of CJ Egan-Riley, who, big player last season. Brownhill left, your top scorer. Trafford's left, who... he's having his faults at City, but no one can deny he was one of the top performers in the Championship last season. Like top performers, you could say in England, he was brilliant last campaign. And he's still been able to keep his style of play going. And Dubravka, I thought, was quite good against United, pulled out some big saves. Like, despite all the losses that you had over the transfer window and the fact that you've been there's been a myriad of changes like we saw in the past with Fulham when they did it, like Norwich when they did it. Are you all concerned with the recruitment and the losses? Do you think it could come back to bite you, or is it something that you're just thinking, we've got Scott Parker at the helm, we'll be absolutely fine?
No, I think we've actually improved in a sense. Obviously, Trafford going was rough because, I mean, I've been a massive backer of James Trafford, even when he went through that really rough spell at Burnley. But
yeah,
you're getting over £30 million for a player who you paid less than £15 million for. You've doubled your profit over that, actually even more than double your profit in less than 2 years. And then you've also then been able to get some breathing room from PSR because we were close to PSR, which is why we hadn't spent. And then obviously CJ Egan-Riley is a bit of a harsh one, but I don't think you can blame anyone for that because he was pants. We brought him in from City. He played maybe a couple of games, then went out on loan to Scotland, had a big injury, then went to Holland. They had an option to buy for $1 million for the PSV second team. They didn't trigger that option. He was then forced into the team because of obviously losing Dario O'Shea and injuries to Joe Worrell. And he stepped up, and you can't predict that. And then once he does do that, and he's having an amazing season like he did, them offers start to come from teams like Marseille, and you're not going to be able to financially compete with them as a club that were still in the Championship. So I don't think that's that bad of a loss. Josh Brown, I've never been a fan of, really. I think, yes, he scores goals, but our midfield is a million times better now than when he was in it because he's great in terms of the final third, in terms of scoring, but that's all he offers. He doesn't bring brilliant ability on the ball. He's not going to help you when you're being pressed. He is a busybody, but he's not actually that effective.
Is it like what we had with Harvey Elliott, where it's like he'll press, but half the time it just feels like unnecessary pressing, like he's doing it to look busy? It's
like when you're playing a game and you're scared of the opposition and you think, well, I'll half run. I'll make it look like I want it. And same with like coming to receive the ball, he'll half make an effort, but he knows he doesn't really want the ball. So losing him's, I think that's fine. We'll replace him with Leslie Ugachukwu, who is 5 times the player. And then also Florentino Luis coming in, one of the best signings I think a promoted team's done in the last 5 years. And I think he's up there. Obviously, some have made some ridiculous signings. Even Leeds bringing in players like Jakob Bijol and Anton Stack, which are these type of profile players are probably what we've not really seen from Premier League newly promoted clubs in a long while. And I think Florentino Luis slots right in that conversation with those like Granit Xhakas and stuff like that, in terms of the quality that you're actually bringing in. So I think that overall the window actually ended quite positively. I wouldn't say that I see Scott Parker and I'm filled with confidence, but I think in terms of treating the Premier League, and I was a big fan of Vincent Kompany, I really was, but I think our floor is so much higher with Scott Parker in charge, and that gives me a bit more confidence for the here and now. And also just to talk, like Egan Riley and Trafford going, like I said, it was bad, but Dubravka's come in and probably right now he's probably better suited to facing a high volume of shots. And then also Egan Riley's not really been replaced, but Hajjal Marekdal's come through, and Hajjal Marekdal was a signing that we bought ages ago, was good, but it's been a little bit injury prone. So yeah, I think overall the window was solid. I would have potentially liked another right back in, maybe a more talented winger. But I think in terms of actually bringing in profiles that fit the team, we've got it bang on, which under Kompany, we had a lot of square pegs and circular holes.
Yeah. And with Kompany as well, it felt very much like a sort of, if plan A wasn't working, there was no plan B. It was just, we're going to play this same style, regardless of the situation. And whereas Scott Parker, he does sort of feel a little bit more pragmatic. If things aren't going his way, he'll look for ways around it. He's willing to change. Like you said, you went from a back five last season that was very, free-flowing. You were venturing forward at points, but at the same time, this season, you've gone a bit more rigid, which I think you need to. And for Burnley this season, a lot of people have tipped them to go in 20th. Like you said it yourself when we did the Zach video, like you were very sort of, look, 20th is probably going to happen, but it doesn't mean I think we're completely out of it. What is the ambition for Burnley this season before we move on to the Liverpool part? What's the sort of expectation? How are you feeling after the first 3 games? Has anything changed in that regard?
Yeah, I think after the first 3, I think do a good job of fighting for survival. I don't think Burnley will be embarrassing in any way. And also, just to say about Kompany, I think the difference between Kompany and Parker I think there's this kind of false narrative around Kompany that he didn't change, but he did change. Okay. And Bellamy went on Sky Sports and said it himself that they did change. But with Kompany, I think it was almost too far gone. The season that we built in the Championship was built around a certain way. Kompany and the owner both said we went up a season too early. We wanted to stay down for another season because obviously our squad was like, the average age of that squad that went up was probably like 22, 21. And then I think we did make them changes, but it was too far gone because also that start of that season, funnily enough, similar to this season, was horrid. And that by then, we started in that way of Kompany ball, then got a few batterings, played all right. I remember that opening game against City, everyone was saying Burnley looked good, and we all thought would be okay. But then you take a few more batterings, and then you start trying to change things, but players' heads are already gone because they're all young kids. And that's when the issues kind of rise. With Parker, obviously, we've come up, we've gone straight into that pragmatism. We've gone straight into trying to just nick things, which, again, gives you a higher floor to kind of build from. But yeah, I still think we're probably going to go down, but I think we'll give a really, really good fight of it. And it won't be one of them where I don't hope that it'll be one of them where we're down by March. I think it'll take to the last few games. We'll push whoever's going to be just above relegation right to the wire. And, maybe we can nick it, but we're going to need some luck to go our way, which so far we've had all 3 VAR decisions go against us in 3 games. So,
Yeah, definitely. No, I completely agree. And look, you've already had a better start than Southampton did last season. So there's already positives and benefits. And like you said, Burnley, there's a lot of positives to be taken. There's a very aggressive team here, a lot of attacking talent. Like you said, Ugochukwu a brilliant signing. I think for the player you've bought there's definitely a lot of talent that you've brought in. Also bringing in Broja. I understand he's had a bit of a mixed time. We saw that at Ipswich, saw at Chelsea, but there's still a decent player there. And going into this match, you've seen Liverpool very exposed on transitions. We saw that against Burnley, against Firmino. He caused us nightmares. We saw it against Crystal Palace on counter-attacking, like Ismail Sarr caused us issues. Newcastle, they dominated us throughout that match. What is it about Liverpool this season that maybe is sort of not clicking correctly, in your opinion, as it did last season?
I think it's probably just too early. There's some big changes there. Obviously, having now 2 high-flying fullbacks, Maybe Kirkes is being played not in the way that he should be, in terms of he's not always having that license to roam forward like he has done, obviously at Bournemouth, and what made him so good. But I think it's just probably just teething issues. You can't make as many signings as Liverpool have done and go, we're going to be mint straight away. It takes time, and it's going to take time, and you've still probably got, you've got the likes of Isak to come in, who again raise that floor even higher, raise the ceiling of Liverpool as well. So yeah, I think it's just going to be getting used to it. I think the biggest problem I've had with Liverpool is managing space. I think, especially against teams who are physically imposing, which are the ones you've struggled against. You look at Arsenal, you played well, but in terms of the teams that you will be going properly toe-to-toe with, I probably worded that wrong, but against Arsenal, it was obviously a different game plan to your normal game, a bit more reserved, a bit more defensive, which allowed you to manage that space better. But against Newcastle, Bournemouth, they are two of probably the most physical teams in the league who thrive off chaos, who thrive off making it into a battle. And you struggle, because I think you struggle to manage space well. Newcastle got in behind quite easily a lot of times with literal 1-2s. And obviously we saw Bournemouth Semenyo's goal where he just runs the length of the pitch. And I think that just comes from being familiar with where the players want to be on the pitch, where are they supposed to be, what times are they supposed to jump, when are they supposed to drop off, which just comes and changes with time, which again, as I said, is probably why you've struggled a little bit, because I think you have struggled with managing those spaces in the different areas of the pitch, and some spaces are really strong. Like I think Szoboszlai, as much as he is out of position, I think he's actually been okay at right back. I think against Newcastle wasn't his best game, in my opinion. I know a lot of people praised him, but in the first half, I thought he struggled a bit. And then, I think, you got to think fully fit when everyone's back, 10 games into the season. I think that's when we can start to make, okay, maybe Liverpool are in trouble here, or they're going to go on and win the league, because 3 games in with not your fully fit team and all the issues off the pitch with the Isak saga, and obviously the tragic things that have happened as well, they all play an effect into kind of settling in, because that's what you've got to do. There's so many new players, and probably Liverpool at the moment, not even for any negative reasons, just isn't a settled place, if that makes sense for the players, because everything's changed quite a bit. New players coming in, all the stuff off the pitch, probably just isn't the perfect environment right now. But I'm sure 10 games in, it'll all be different.
Yeah, and it's like you said, it's been a difficult start in terms of the opponents we've played. Bournemouth and no slouches. They've just beat Tottenham, who beat Burnley opening day of the season. So what goes around comes around kind of thing. We then had Newcastle United away at St. James's Park. We then had Arsenal. And I feel like no matter the sort of style, we do have different ability and different characters to break teams down. And I want to know, against Burnley, are we expected to be coming up against a team that's probably going to sort of sit back and not give us a lot of time in the box, in and around it? Or can we expect maybe a Burnley that's going to sort of try and go toe-to-toe with Liverpool kind of thing? Because I understand that a lot of people don't particularly want that approach. They always say, see out the first 15 minutes at Anfield and you've got some sort of opportunity. You just got to ride that wave. But what kind of game plan can you expect from Burnley on Sunday to sort of attempt to nullify Liverpool's attack?
The most disgusting, horrid low block you've ever seen. Against Tottenham, obviously went out with that flat 5. I wouldn't be surprised if in the first half we see it becoming a 6 at the back at times. And I think that's the way Burnley go about it. I think Parker will. He has been, even at Man United, and we know Manchester United, you go to Old Trafford and you press them and you go man to man. But Parker's someone who maybe goes to the very, very far extreme of pragmatism, in terms of he always wants to not concede, put yourself in a favourable position as much as you can without actually doing much, if that makes sense, being very defensively solid. So I think there's no doubt in my mind he'll get to half-time, like even we did at Old Trafford. We're 1-0 down at half-time, but we got to half-time, and then he kind of switched things up a bit. We went more to that man-to-man press. We went more expansive, and we hurt United. And obviously it's a different story playing Liverpool to Manchester United in the modern scope. But I think it will be, sit in a really deep low block, try and minimise the central spacing, probably have the wide centre-backs go man-to-man with whoever is kind of operating as them almost 2 centre-forwards, which it can sometimes look like, whether it's, maybe going to be Gakpo and Ekitike or Wirtz is bombing forward. They'll probably go man-to-man. You'll expect Hayama Ekdal to kind of just eat the crosses like he has done throughout this season. So yeah, that's what I'd probably expect, and then you just kind of rely on playing forward into the channels for Lara Foster to get into, which is something that can be exploited, especially down that left-hand side if Szoboszlai is end up inverting into midfield to try and pin us in. Same with Kirkers bombing on to try and put balls into the box. I think Foster can have the run. You'll probably lean away from Van Dijk, but I think he will probably look to do that. The most interesting thing for me is if he starts Hannibal or Florentino Luis goes straight in, because that obviously changes things quite a bit. And if Luis starts, I would like to see Shawana start on the wing, which would probably mean it would be maybe more of a 2 up front without the ball. But if Hannibal starts, it will definitely be like a 6-3-1, something like that.
That formation number makes me feel ill. 6-3-1, that's dreadful. Not in like it's like the thought of playing against that is giving me like proper PTSD from matches of the past. And like you said, Burnley, we may expect that. And against 2 up top, we notoriously struggle. We did it against Everton last season, where when Beto was going up against Van Dijk and he had Ndiaye to pass the ball off to, he really struggled. What is the sort of, because Liverpool, as much as we've been great in an attacking sense to an extent, and we'll touch on that very briefly for a quick moment, what have you made of the sort of the midfield setup for Liverpool? Obviously, Gravenberch's only been back for 1 game, really. He came up against Newcastle, he's then had Arsenal. But what have you made of the sort of midfield dynamic of Liverpool, despite the fact that McAllister's been injured, Gravenberch's been in and out of the team, Szoboszlai's been right back? Is that an area that you could maybe look to exploit in this match?
I think it'll probably continue in the same way we have done when we are in settled possession and we're trying to build out. It is a lot about baiting the press in midfield, which is obviously a brave game, especially against the likes of Liverpool with the quality that are there. But it also creates a lot because you pull teams in and then you can exploit that. I think, again, probably similar things, teething issues. Gravenberch has only started 1 game, give him time and it'll all change. I think the discourse around Florian Wirtz is just weird. And I think, personally, I don't see his future being in midfield for Liverpool, but as of right now, I think he's not been anywhere near as bad as me and made out, and he's a young lad moving from Germany. So I think the quality in Liverpool's midfield is obviously undeniable. But yeah, it'll be hard for Burnley to really play their game in midfield. And I've said this again, I said this a couple of days ago, I think the centerpiece of all 3 promoted sides is the midfield. But actually finding joy through that compared to, getting joy against Sunderland versus getting joy against Liverpool are entirely different things.
Yeah. And now, last question before we sort of go on to the quick little fun quiz thing, because you're clearly more intelligent than I am, so I'd love to get your thoughts on a particular player who when we did the Zach videos, it came out on a short yesterday, and I got slandered to no end for this, where people were saying Mo Salah. Zach, to be fair, he worded it wrong. He put this short up saying that I said that Mo Salah is Liverpool's greatest ever player. He's not. I'm just making that crystal clear. He's not. It's King Kenny, of course. But of the Premier League era, I'd say Mo Salah has the greatest legacy, what he's achieved, what he's done. Being honest, as a Burnley fan, does the thought of coming up against Salah particularly scare you in the way that it would other players of maybe the past, like people have said about like Hazard, Aguero, Suarez even, so to speak? These caliber of players, does the thought of playing Mo Salah put any fear into you at all?
I think it's a different type with Salah. When I knew we were playing Chelsea, I knew I was in for a horrid viewing because for 90 minutes, Eden Hazard would be running people ragged. He'd probably get a goal and an assist, and he would just make our players look mediocre. It wouldn't even be fun to watch in any way. Whereas against Salah, I feel like the fear more comes from an inevitability aspect. It's inevitable that Salah's going to score. It feels like it's just going to happen. But you're not sat there going, oh, Salah's got the ball. Because I think when he gets it, there isn't that fear struck into you because he's not necessarily going to pick up the ball, take on 4 players and cut it back like an Eden Hazard would have done. Where Eden Hazard get the ball, there's always that element of fear. Whereas with Salah, it's more just like, you'll get a half chance and he'll put it in back at net. And I think as much as it feels inevitable, there's not that constant fear whenever he gets the ball. Whereas, like I said, with like a Hazard or an Aguero, it felt like he could just pick up a ball and change the course of a game every 5 minutes. You could be on top 5 minutes, Aguero would get it, it'd change back in the opposition's favour. Hazard get it, it'd change back in the opposition's favour. Whereas Salah, you can get the ball, you can take it off him, you can go back on the front foot. Whereas, like I said, with them two, the ball stuck to them.
Yeah.
They ran through you. And that doesn't mean that I was more scared of Hazard or more scared of Salah as a Burnley fan. I think it's just a different type of fear. And to be fair, I probably would prefer the fear that I felt with Salah because it wasn't constant. It was just more so edge of the box, you get a bit scared. Hazard would get the ball on the edge of his own box, and I'd be sat there going, "We're going to concede here." Whereas I think that's just a little bit different in terms of Salah.
Yeah, no, I get that, and like I said, he's not someone who's going to beat like 4 or 5 men. He's done it before. He got it against City. He did it against Watford. But like you said, he's not someone who's going to put the fear of God in you in terms of when he picks up the ball, he's going to beat people, create space for himself. He's just someone who can make chicken salad out of chicken shit, and I'm all for it. Zach, we're going to have words because he did me over dirty with that short. I'm just saying now, but we're going to move on quickly from the match talk because I've got a few questions for you. I want to get your thoughts. If anyone wants to see these as well, over and over again, because why not? Make sure you check out the shorts. They'll be coming out tomorrow. And also, there's going to be a video coming out tomorrow as well. Liverpool's top 10 greatest ever summer transfer windows. Everyone seems to love the 10 worst. So we'll cleanse your palate and do the 10 best. But there's 3 questions, or 2 at the moment. I've got a third on the Pipeworks. So, in the Premier League era, there have been 5 players who have played for both Liverpool and Burnley. It's only 5, which kind of shocked me a little bit. Can you name the 5 players?
Danny Ings.
Yeah.
I am awful at these sort of questions. Danny Ings is obviously one of them. I'm trying to think of any other players that we might have got from you.
One of them is it doesn't have to be direct transfers between Liverpool and Burnley. One of them is fairly recent for you. Like I'm talking in the past 2 years.
What? I'm so bad at these. I'm trying to think of the players that we've had. Oh man. I'm just trying to think of the players that we've had past 2 years. So I'm assuming he's not there anymore.
No.
J-Rod never did. Obviously Ingsy did.
Danny Ings, yeah. I miss Danny Ings, you know. He was so injury prone for us and I feel bad for him, but I miss Danny Ings so much.
Oh, Danny Ings, yeah. What a player.
He was class.
Yeah.
Who was it for you? He had the sort of telekinetic. I remember being on Sky. There was another attacker, and everyone was like, "Oh, they're like so in sync." They're like, "It wasn't Jay Rodriguez.
It would have been Vokes. Sam Vokes.
Was it Sam Vokes? Yeah,
it would have been. Yeah. I actually have no idea.
Right. I mean, it's up to you. If you want to move on, I'm more than happy to.
I've got no clue.
So, in the Premier League era, there have been 5 players who have played with Liverpool and Burnley. Obviously, you got Danny Ings. The one that I don't think you were going to get, Paul Stewart, played for Liverpool in 1992, 1993, joined Burnley in 1994. What was that, sorry?
That was like 14 years before I was born.
Well, he only played 6 matches for you and he didn't get any goals. Paul Stewart obviously joined Liverpool during the famous we sold Ray Houghton and we sold Paul Stewart. Like we saw a lot of really interesting, talented players. We sold them off to Aston Villa. Paul Stewart came in that revolution for Liverpool. Didn't quite work out. It's then been announced later on the reasons why, which I'm not going to delve too much into. The other 3 players who played for Liverpool and Burnley, the one in the past 2 years, John Joe Shelby.
Oh, yeah.
He didn't quite work for us.
45 minutes for. That's why.
Well, he only played for you 4 times, and he didn't score any of those bangers that he's known for either. The other player, Peter Crouch, obviously played Burnley 2018. Was it you that he scored that goal against City, or was it Stoke? I can't quite remember.
He never scored for us. He just won a penalty.
Is that what it was? Yeah, you are right. 6 games. God, no wonder he didn't get these. These are quite elusive. And then the other one was, of course, the Scouse Cafu. It was John Flanagan. Went to Burnley at one stage. One of the most promising fullbacks of Liverpool in the 2010s. Again, didn't quite work out. I feel quite bad because a lot of the players that you signed from us just turned out to be absolute duds. He only played 10 games for Burnley, played 50 for us, and of course in that infamous 2013-14 season. So we've got one more question. Obviously, you touched earlier on about the famous match where you ended the winning streak, the unbeaten streak at Anfield. But before then, there was a game in which Burnley picked up a 2-0 win against Liverpool in 2016. can you name for me the 2 Burnley goal scorers from that day?
Andre Gray was one of them. Because I remember his celebration. And then I want to say Volksy, but it might have been... Was Joe Ward playing there? It might have been Ward. That might have been against Chelsea.
Ooh. It's one of those two. It's one of those two, definitely.
I'm going to say Volksy. Was it Graham Volksy?
It was Andre Gray and Sam Vokes. Sam Vokes scored in the 2nd minute against us. Absolutely battered us. I remember that goal very well, actually. And then Andre Gray, the 37th minute, under their manager, Sean Dyche. And for an extra bonus point, if you could, based on that match, because I feel like that's something that you'd sort of... It'll go down in Burnley folklore. Can you name for me the starting lineup from that day, or can you name me at least 6 players who started that match?
I was 10-year-old. I think
it's not an excuse. Come on, man.
That might have been the season... I can't remember I can't remember if that was the season we got relegated or it was the season we beat Chelsea when Chelsea had just won the league.
I think it was the season you got relegated. I'm pretty sure it was.
Was Heaton in then?
If you say a name, I'm more than happy to say if that person was in it.
Was Heaton in?
Heaton was the goalkeeper, yes.
Yeah.
Heaton, of course, famous Manchester United keeper. Ward. Yes, Stephen Ward. He was one of the back 4 at the time.
Was Ben Mee there then? I think so.
Ben Mee, yep. Started alongside Stephen Ward.
Yep. Was Bardsley playing? Or might have been Loughton?
Bardsley was not. He was not involved in the team on the day.
Was Loughton?
Loughton.
Before.
Yes, Matt Loughton.
You've got
a t-shirt. I was going to say, you've got a shirt, haven't you, of Loughton?
Oh, you can't even see it. Yeah, I've got your shirt behind me.
Maybe you tweeted the other day.
Right, so that's the back line. I don't think Tarky was there then.
James Tarkowski was there, but he wasn't starting.
Yeah, so it was before him. I don't know who it would have been next to him. In midfield, up front, Volksy and Gray.
Yeah.
Left wing, was Knightley playing then? Or would it have been Brady? Was Knightley playing?
Knightley was on the bench. The person you're thinking of, I'm not going to give the name, but he signed for Hull City on deadline day in 2013. George Boyd, yes.
Yeah, Boyd, who was there. Was Hendrick?
No, Hendrick was not in the squad that day. He actually wasn't involved at all.
He might not have even been there then. Jack Cork, I don't know if we got Cork the season after when we went up or if he was already there, because he was obviously at us, then he left, and then we got him back.
Was he Southampton? Was he that you got him from or you sold him to?
Swansea?
Was it Swansea? Who am I thinking of? I'm thinking of someone completely different. I might be thinking of Romeo or something.
Yeah, was Jack Cork in there?
No, Jack Cork was not in the squad at all. You've got 3 players that you can potentially name. And one of them, to be fair, I think is a bit of a Burnley alumni. I might be wrong with that, but I'm pretty sure he's someone who's sort of maybe cult hero. I'm not 100% certain.
Westwood, was he there?
Westwood was not. He wasn't involved in the squad. I can give you the nationality of the 3 players, if that helps at all.
Yeah, go on. Irish.
So you've got a Canadian, you've got a Belgian, and you've got
Scott Arfield. Defoe. Scott Arfield and Defoe, I think.
And then you've got one more, and then I'll give you the defender that you didn't get as well.
What's the nationality of the last one?
English. And to be honest, I couldn't tell you. This is a name that's new to me. In my 21 years of football, I cannot recall hearing this player's name once. I won't lie to you.
Yeah, I probably won't get it then. I think this was probably the season before I got my season ticket. Like before I properly got into football.
Testing your knowledge here.
So Arfield was playing. Obviously, Scott Arfield would have been on the right when he scored against Blackburn the season after, I think, or maybe the season prior. And then midfield, obviously, Cork, Westwood wasn't either of them. Not Hendrick because he wasn't there. Drinkwater wasn't there. Yeah, I don't think I've got an idea.
It was Dean Marney.
What? How didn't I get that?
Mate, I didn't even know who he was. I
You've
don't
never
know
heard of
how
Dean
I don't
Marney?
know. No, who was? What is he
Have you
like?
ever
A
watched River?
proper? He was at Tottenham at one point. When
Yeah,
what did
Marnie
that
was a cool
happen?
hero.
Oh, I was saying I thought Arfield was the cult hero. Was that
Oh, he
right
is
or
as
not? Was
well.
that?
Off it as well.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
people
yeah.
shout like, even now, everyone just still randomly starts going, Demone! Like really rap like, in the fans and that. Oh, how
Well,
would
you
I
know
got
what?
that one?
You know what, man? I'm considering, like you said, this was before you got your season ticket, and at that point you were 10. You've smashed that out because you've got all but two players. One of them was, of course, Dean Marney.
Who was the centre?
Do you want one more opportunity to guess the centre back, or are you
I
sort
won't
of
get it, I don't think.
as a quick hint, just one more? He's still in the Premier League today.
Oh, Michael Keane.
Michael Keane, there we go. So yes, the full team for Burnley was Tom Heaton, Michael Keane, Matt Lowton, Ben Mee, Stephen Ward, Scott Arfield, Stephen Defoe, Dean Marney, whoever. Apparently he went to Fleetwood, George Boyd, Andrew Gray, and Sam Vokes. And then for Liverpool, as a sign of, before we sign off, the sign of the times of just how much we've come, Simon Mignolet, Nathaniel Klein, Ragnar Klavan, Dejan Lovren, Jordan Henderson, James Milner, Gini Wijnaldum, Coutinho, Firmino, Lallana, and Sturridge, just to sort of show how much we've improved. Ragnar Klavan, of course, scored that brilliant goal against Burnley as well to get the late winner. That was also the day where Steve Hoare had his child from Redmond, because he goes on about that story a lot, how he didn't get to watch the match because he was watching his daughter being born. Sorry, Steve. But that is going to wrap up our stream for today, guys. I just want to say a massive thank you to Jacob for coming on, giving us thoughts on Burnley, giving us thoughts on Liverpool, and knowing football matches that he wasn't even properly around to see. So credit to him. If you haven't seen Jacob's channel already, cannot stress enough. Like, I'm not the most tactically versed fan. I'm a very passionate one. The amount of stuff I've learned from Jacob's channel is mental. Go check out his latest video. Man, do you want to plug your latest video, plug your channel? You go for it, man.
Yeah, just talking about Ange's setup at Nottingham Forest now. Forest could look under Big Ange. Yeah, talk about everything from Premier League, Championship, all that jazz. Yeah.
All of it. We recently hit 10k subscribers as well, so that's phenomenal. Congratulations on that. Make sure you go hit like and subscribe, guys, and make sure you subscribe to this channel here. We've not long reached 5,000. The aim is 10,000. We're trying to keep up with Jacob. It's pretty hard, but the new video will be coming out tomorrow. I promise you, we're getting back to the top 10s. They are just such a long process to actually get done. But top 10 best transfer windows in Liverpool summer history. Butchered that, but that's coming out tomorrow. There'll be more live streams, more shorts, so make sure you tune out for them. And thank you once again, Jacob, for coming in, guys. Thank you all for watching, and we will see you all